Hey, everybody. Thank you very, very, very much for joining us again for our Wednesday webinars. I know I've missed a few weeks and I apologize. Between traveling around the country, speaking at Amazon events, and defending private label brands in courts in New York and courts in Chicago, I've just been out of touch a little bit. But I'm really excited to be back online, back presenting to you Vladdy Gordon from AMZ Control, who is going to talk to you about calculating your profits, because you wouldn't believe how many sellers out there really don't know what they're making. And Vladdy's going to walk us through how to calculate all the different costs. And I don't want to talk for him. Vladdy, if you can, why don't you introduce yourself to our Amazon sellers all over the globe?
Sure. So thanks for having me. My name is Vladdy Gordon. I'm based in Germany, in Stuttgart. I am the co-founder of a tool called AMZControl.com. We are the world's most accurate profit analytics tool. So basically our mission is to help sellers understand their profits and their business models. And yeah, we're doing it since about 2 years. Started in Germany, then expanded into the US. And meanwhile, we have customers all over the globe. There are a lot of folks all over the world selling in the US, but also in Europe. And I think that's an amazing market. I jumped into this topic of Amazon 3.5 years ago or so. I started to sell myself because there was a lot of buzz about private label and Amazon. And actually, I'm a software guy, but I decided to try it out myself as a side hustle, so to say, as many of us probably. And it kind of worked. I was selling in Germany. I had a product which was well, basically a rocket. It was actually I can tell it. It was a virtual reality glass, which Google designed. It's called Google Cardboard. It's like a cardboard thing where you can put in your phone and then watch pictures in 3D. And I guess I was one of the first guys in Germany who were selling this at all. And it launched like a rocket. It was really fun. But since I'm a software guy, I guess at some point I failed to scale this business. Yeah, I came across this idea, or rather I talked to a lot of friends of mine or other sellers who are having troubles understanding how much they earn. So I decided to build a software tool. So meanwhile,
I'll tell you, I love the fact that you were first an experienced seller, and then using your skills as a software developer, seeing a need and filling a need. There's a kids movie called I, Robot where they talk about that. See a need, fill a need, and those are generally the best devices that they really require, because you saw that profits weren't being calculated clearly. And most sellers are not mathematicians. Most sellers are not accountants. So they need tools to sort of help them calculate all the different costs that exist, so you know what's profitable, what you're making. And I read it's called the personal MBA, and that most successful business people know their numbers. Oh, I got to sneeze. Got it. Holy cow! Excuse me. Excuse me. Some of you folks might have seen me do a video a few weeks ago with my son Max right here on our green screen. And towards the end, you see he's like, and he's going he's getting ready to sneeze, and then he does. So I apologize for my sneeze. So you got into the space as a seller, you're a software developer by trade, and now you're going to start teaching people and helping people use your platform or your software to really know what they are making, what their costs are. Do I have that down pretty good?
Yes, that's exactly the point. And I think the problem that I'm seeing a lot, and also in different communities, but also with the sellers that I'm talking to, sometimes it's not just about like knowing your numbers exactly, because if you're earning a lot of money, then it kind of maybe doesn't matter for somebody, is it like a couple of dollars more or less? But the thing is, sometimes it really affects the business model. So I've seen a lot of sellers that, actually some of our customers, they log in and then like register and then write us, okay, something is wrong, you're subtracting too much. And I'm like, okay, let's take a look. And in fact, everything is right. They just didn't account for a lot of numbers from the beginning. So I guess it's important to to understand your Amazon's fee structure and all kinds of costs at the beginning of the journey, because that might very well affect also the products that you're going to choose. So for example, when I was actively selling, I kind of had a couple of products that were very cheap, and you're of course very vulnerable if your margin is very thin. First of all, because then the competition comes in and you have nowhere to go, so to say. And second, because, well, if you forget something, or if, I don't know, something goes wrong, also, you get a bad batch or something like this, then you're immediately under the water. So I guess it's important to factor in all possible costs from the beginning, and then you're going to do good.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I'm a huge believer in numbers. I think you need to know your cost, especially if there are other sellers out there. If you're a private label seller developing your own brand, you need to know your costs, your shipping, your listing, your marketing, all those things pertain. So you need to know like what's profitable and what's not. And as our marketplace gets more and more and more competitive, you need to know when you should bail out and stick your capital someplace else.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm a big believer in not being married to a product. I believe you should develop your brand, and we help people develop their brands, but not a particular product. All right, I'm going to get to your slides here, okay? Mm-hmm. So here we go. Let's talk about the accounting, the external accounting and the internal accounting, and explain what the difference is, because a lot of sellers, their skill set is picking products and selling, not necessarily, keeping the books.
Yeah, exactly. And that was actually in my learning, I'm not an MBA in management or business administration. So this is kind of trivial maybe, but I actually never realized that there are two types of accounting, maybe even more, but like two general categories. And one is external and one is internal. And the external accounting or like financial accounting, this is basically for taxes. So this is what your accountant does or the bookkeeper, and it's strictly regulated, and you need to submit all your forms, and then the your state is gonna charge taxes. Oh
my God, let me stop you for 1 second. Let me just stop you about state sales tax here in the United States is a huge issue. The United States Supreme Court really stuck it to online retailers, and now little by little, the states, and more importantly, the thousands of sales tax venues in the United States are going to start getting involved. We have a really good analysis of that lawsuit. I'm willing to email it to anybody. It's called the Wayfair decision, and it's prepared and it's ready to rock and roll, ready to publish it. But stay tuned for sales tax issues. I don't think they're going to put anybody out of business. I think the platforms are going to take up the slack eventually. Either they're going to do it on their own, they're going to be compelled to. But sales tax are a huge issue here. So it's a hot button issue. Also, for those of you watching us live, if you have any questions or any comments, post it. I will see it. And then I could ask Vladdy whatever questions you have. All right. So I'm sorry. We're talking external and internal.
But that's actually a very important issue. You're right. And in Europe, there is no sales tax, but there's this VAT. And it's as bad of a pain in the behind as the sales tax, because you've got different countries in Europe and separate regulations. So, okay, but anyway, that's the part which is called external accounting or financial accounting, and most of us probably or I would say like 99% of us have to deal with it somehow, and you have your system in place or your accountant, and you submit your stuff, and then you pay taxes. And that maybe sometimes helps in making business decisions, but the problem with that is normally it's very late, and you get the numbers on the company level, and so they are they're not detailed enough. And it's mostly about cash flow and not so much about PPCs and storage fees and inbound shipping and stuff, which really matters for Amazon sellers. So these are good numbers, but you can't really manage the business only by financial accounting. And the other part is called internal or management accounting, and this is actually what everybody is doing somehow. When I was a seller, I wasn't aware I was doing it. I actually didn't have any system in place or process, but this is basically you with your Excel sheet or maybe your calculator, where you calculate, okay, how much money do I make on which product, and how much should I factor in for the returns and for inbound shipping and for promotions and for product launches, and am I making any money at all? And the goal of this kind of accounting is really to make informed decisions. So this is the data for the managers or for company owners, and there are no regulations. You can do it in any way you want, and if you don't do it at all, then you probably do it somehow, without any paper, just in your head.
Now, so let me interrupt you for a second. This internal management accounting, I think, is vital for sellers. Okay, I'm a big believer in reinvestment, but I'm also a big believer in putting away for a rainy day. So if you know what your numbers are, if you know what your profits are, you can set yourself up just as if you had like a job and put a certain amount that you're going to put into your IRA or your KEO, your retirement account, how much you're going to stash away and what you're going to reinvest. Because at the end of the day, you want to build up a nest egg. You want to make sure you have not only built up this business, but you have money put aside. Amazon is a constantly changing platform. So I recommend that you know your numbers and you put a portion of it aside, and that's conservative, just so you always have something to fall back on. All right, now you're talking about making informed decisions about reinvestment, products to get into and products to get out of, that sort of thing?
Exactly, yes.
All right, let me go ahead, I'm sorry, we're stepping over each other a little bit. Let me know you want me to change the slide.
Okay, let's go to the next one. So here, the question is, what do you need to make informed decisions? And there are actually kind of best practices in all kinds of industries. And from my experience, you really need three things to manage a business. So this is a profit and loss statement, this is a balance sheet, and this is a cash flow report. And let me explain about these three things. And I'm sure that every seller is somehow, having these, right? So you kind of do it in Excel or maybe on a napkin, but in fact, conceptually, everybody should be familiar with these things, but maybe not everybody knows how they're called. So what is a profit and loss statement? Basically, the profit and loss statement tells you whether your business model is working. So am I making money on every item sold? Right. So basically, when you're selling, you have you get the money from the customer, and then you need to subtract all kinds of fees like the referral fee and the FBA fee, and then you've got like fees that are not per item, but maybe kind of fixed cost, like your account fee, or maybe fees that are per item fees, but you cannot track them down to every single item. For example, inbound shipping, because you might ship a lot of stuff to Amazon, or you have long-term storage fees, so all kinds of fees. And basically, profit and loss will tell you, after subtracting everything and factoring in the returns and everything, do you still make money on every single item that you sell? Because if you don't, then you should stop, or you should either tweak something, or maybe you should invest into a different product.
Well, let me add something. There are also sellers. I mean, there's a whole dichotomy between brick and mortar retail and online retail. So if there are products that are not making money, in a brick and mortar store, maybe they're lost leaders. I'm not so sure that exists in online retail. Like if you're running an Amazon account or some of the other platforms, I don't think lost leaders are really going to do anything or drive traffic or drive anything to your other products. What are your thoughts on this? Is there any reason to maintain a product that's losing money?
Well, basically in a brick and mortar store, maybe you're like, maybe there are some products you must have in your store, otherwise the people just won't come. Like if you don't have yogurt, then people are going to go somewhere else, although you're not making money on the yogurt, but you might make money overall because somebody will buy some other stuff. But the online world works like vice versa. The process is offline, is like you pick a store, and then you go there and pick a product, and then you buy. And online, you pick a product first, and then you pick a store, right? So, okay, we're talking a lot about Amazon, of course, but like imagine you want to buy a phone or something, right? First thing you do is you Google it, you go to YouTube and watch some reviews. Maybe you ask your friends on Facebook, and then you pick a product. Say, okay, I want to have an iPhone, or I don't want a Samsung, and then you Google it and find, or you search for the product on Amazon, and then you kind of decide where to buy it depending on the price, right? So it's like more of a product first approach. And on Amazon, I guess at least most of my customers, they are making most of their money from first time buyers, right? So of course, you need to build a brand, but the way most Amazon sellers are making money is not from the brand or from the brand recognition, let's put it this way, but from the first time customers, right? So if somebody wants to buy a glove, they're searching for a glove, they buy from one brand, then they want to buy a phone case and they're searching for a phone case, buying it from another brand maybe, right? So of course you can reach a level where you're recognizable. Like, there are brands, but it's tough, right? So
I'd say, I think as we're talking it through, I think I agree with you. Like if you're developing your own brand, your own line of products, then it makes sense to sell some things that you're losing a bit of money or just not making a lot of money on, because you're developing a product line, developing brand recognition with your private label. But if you're doing retail arbitrage or online arbitrage, or you are buying from distributors, I agree with you. I don't see there's any reason for an online seller to maintain a product that other people can sell for less money. Like that, I don't believe in lost leaders. But listen, I'm not a seller, so sellers, more. If you want to inject yourself into the conversation, post something on your screen. But I agree. For most online sellers, unless you are a brand, there's no reason to sell products that are lost. You need to know your numbers. If you're losing, a very small amount, you're still losing money and you're spending effort and tying up capital. So I don't believe in lost leaders at all for most online sellers.
I agree
with you.
What's
the balance sheet? Talk about balance sheet. I don't think people really know what the balance sheet really reflects and how you can use it.
Balance sheet shows you what you have in your company. Basically, it says, okay, we've got, and it all like normalizes all your assets to money, of course, right? So, but basically what it tells you is you have one computer and you have one table and maybe two cars and I don't know, one phone, and on the other side you have like a debt maybe, or maybe you have some other obligations which can be measured in money. So basically that's the status of your business, right? Of your assets. And for Amazon sellers, the most important asset is inventory. Like of course everybody has a computer, but it doesn't really matter, right? So what does matter is your inventory. So how much money do you have locked in your inventory? And also, of course, it's important to understand what's the sales velocity. Am I gonna make this money? Am I gonna make this money back? Because if a product is not selling and you locked in your money or cash in inventory, then although you have it on your balance sheet, you might never get it back, right? And so basically that's the balance sheet, and you can see it in Seller Central. You can kind of also come up with some formulas and see how it develops, but of course you need to know when to reorder what, right? And that's,
I think that also then leads into the next factor, which is cash flow. Because if all your assets are tied up in inventory that has a slow turnover, it's really going to harm your cash flow. On the other hand, if you have great opportunities, like there's a great seller, Eddie Levine, Wholesale Breakthrough, he'll go very, very deep in a product and be okay with the time it's going to take to sell. But cash turnover is vital. So cash flow is basically the ability to continue to order and get your money back out, right?
Exactly. And I also see a lot of sellers that kind of confuse the cash flow and the profit and loss. And I was no exception. Actually, I didn't know about these things. But the thing is, you can have a lot of cash, but still have a bad business, and you can still be losing money. And the other way around. So imagine, for example, you buy products for $10,000. And you place this order, let's say in January, then you get your products and you start to sell them off. Every month you sell off, I don't know, 1/5 or 1/10. So basically you should run out of stock sometime in October, right? So cash flow means that in January you have a super negative cash flow, minus 10,000, because you paid for all the products. And then starting with February, you have a positive cash flow because there's money coming in from all these products, right? And now you might think, okay, in March or so, I've made some money because the money is coming in, but you might still be selling every single item at a loss. And this is why you need the profit and loss statement, right? You need to understand both. Is my business making sense? Am I making money on each item that I sold? Because this means that I will get my cash back eventually, and will make even more cash. But at the same time, you need to see how your cash flow is doing, because sometimes you might be making money, or having a great business model, but you don't have cash to,
And also,
to spend.
if your cash flow is drying up September, October, you're dead in the water, because you need to gear up and be able to invest in inventory in September, October, November for Q4. So you need to watch your cash flow and manage it really, really carefully, so you can invest at the hot times of the year to make sure you're keeping your inventory at the right times, and also so you can get your products. If you're FBA, get your products into those warehouses. The sooner the better, that they're there. All right, I'm gonna go to the next slide. Okay, this is a really cool slide. I really like, because it really breaks down the pieces.
Exactly. So I kind of try to lay it out how most of the sellers are calculating or their profits, right? So, or what are your options? And basically, balance sheet. Think of it as your stock, and cash flow. You kind of get a feeling for your cash flow if you look at on your bank account, because this shows all the money coming in and going out. But for the profit and loss, if you don't have a tool or some system in place, then you don't really see your numbers. So how to calculate them? And there are a couple of ways, and the easiest one on the left is you kind of assess your profit per unit in Excel, and most of the guys are doing it at the stage where they're sourcing products. So you type in the buying price and the selling price and the fees, and maybe you factor in some buffer, and then you're like, okay, I'm making maybe $4 per item, and then you just watch the number of items in your Seller Central. It's showing items sold today, or you can choose a period of 1 month and multiply it by the profit per unit, and then you've got your profit. So this method is very easy, but it's very imprecise because it doesn't take returns in account, for example, or all kinds of fees like inbound shipping fees. So the reality is more complicated. So the next thing is you can use your accountant, but the problem here is you're getting the numbers very late, and they are also very imprecise, or rather very abstract, because you don't get the numbers per product, or you cannot ask your consultant how much did I spend on PPC on a certain variant or on a certain product, right? So what you can do is you can go to the Seller Central and download some Excel reports and enhance them with your buying prices and with some other columns, and this will give you a pretty good idea of what your profit and loss is. So what's your profit?
Realistic? Is the Seller Central reports in the Excel, is that realistic? Once you have hundreds or thousands or even tens of thousands of ASINs?
Well, that's very time consuming, let's put it this way. So there are a couple of things that are very hard to calculate in Excel, especially if your buying price is changing. All right, so you're selling, and the thing is, often the buying price is changing and the selling price is changing during the month, for example, right? And then you get a list of all transactions from the Seller Central. So to be completely precise, you should know the selling price and the buying price for every sale. And you should factor it in, because depending on the selling price, the fees are higher and lower, and of course, depending on the buying price, your profit changes. So it's rather tough. You can do it. It's very time consuming, but I know sellers who are doing it, or were doing it maybe once a week, just to see where they stand.
What is a better way of calculating your profits, rather than the imprecise units, the account, which is more of a global overview? It's not really any snapshot in time, and the Seller Central reports and Excel spreadsheets, to me, seem very unwieldy.
Yeah. So the best thing to do is a tool, and okay, of course,
that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the tool here, okay? All right, let's get right into it. Tell us about the tool. Tell us about what AMZCONTROL can do for sellers, how easy it can make it, what information they're going to get out of this tool.
Okay, so maybe let me. Can you jump to slide number 10? Then I'll give you an idea of what our tool is doing, and then
Let me know when I hit it.
I can give you, so move on. Yes, this one. Okay, maybe let's start with this one. So what we see here is what we call dashboard. Basically, what you do with the AMZCONTROL is you register, and we connect. We're an authorized MWS, Marketplace Web Services developer. So you give us access to your MWS interface, and we connect with the Seller Central and basically pool all the data that we need to create this profit and loss statement and visualize it in different forms. So what we see here is what we call a dashboard. On the top, you see a couple of tiles. Today, yesterday, this month, last month, and we show in real time what your profit is and what your sales are and what fees are. For example, on this screenshot, you see a net profit for today is 170 euro 23 cent, and it works just as well for the USA. This is just an example from Germany. Then this, in the same manner, you can see what we earned yesterday or this month, how this month is going. And the nice thing is there are there's more links everywhere. And by the way, if you click on such a tile, then you see the list of products on the bottom that go into these numbers. So you can see exactly how many items I sold of every product, and what was the profit contribution of every single product, every single SKU.
I got to tell you also, I like the comparisons. You have day by day and then month over month, which I think is really vital. So you can see what, looking back, what times a year, what worked, if you make any shifts in your listing, what worked and what didn't work. And I like that the easy to see comparison, day by day, and then, last month versus this month. So I think that's vital. So I think sellers need to see what's going on instantaneously, but also then take a step back and have a little bit broader review. So to me, exactly. I think this is great.
Can you go back one slide? So just to give you an idea, we have also some other representations, like you can do your business intelligence, basically. This one is showing your data month by month, and you can configure the numbers that you want to see, like number of refunds, for example, or the net profit, the cost of advertising in this case, but also all kinds of other numbers. And every bar here is clickable. And if you click on a bar, then you see some details on the right. So basically, it drills down into every single component that goes into this number. And on the bottom, you see products that go into this number. And
let me ask you about the returns, okay? Because returns are the bane of a seller's existence. It can lead to your account being suspended. It can lost profitability, lost products, because you got to take them out of inventory. You can't trust Amazon staff to decide whether or not they should be delivered to another consumer or not, just asking for trouble. How does your software take refunds and returns into account?
Yeah, that's a great question. Can you open the slide number 7? So we'll go back. I'll tell you when you reach it. Go back. This is the right one. This is one more.
Right here?
No. Go to the next one. Next one. Next. Exactly.
All right.
Okay, so let me talk quickly about returns. I think this is a very, very important topic, which is totally underrated. Totally. So normally, like, I know a lot of sellers that are saying, like, okay, what happens if I get a return? Well, I sell this item again, right? What's the big deal? So, okay, there are maybe some fees that Amazon charges, but who cares? I'll just sell it again. But this is not what happens. Returns are really, for me, this is the hidden serial profit killer number one. Let me explain briefly how the return calculation should go, or how it's basically how it basically works, right? So on the left part of this slide, we see what happens when an order comes in. Right, so the green bar and the yellow bar, this is the price that the customer paid. The green one is for the product, and the yellow one is for the shipping. Because I don't know if you guys know, but non-Prime customers are paying for shipping on Amazon. So Amazon says, like, if you're selling a product for $10, then Amazon will charge the customer $14. Well, not always, but if Amazon decides they need to pay for the shipping. So Now let's try to calculate the profit from this order. So first thing that Amazon subtracts is this shipping, $4. They call it shipping chargeback. So basically, customer pays 14, and then Amazon immediately subtracts 4 and leaves us with 10 because our product costs 10, right? So the next thing they subtract is the referral fee. It's like 12%, 15%, whatever, right? Then the FBA fee. If you're doing FBA, okay, everybody knows what FBA fee is. And then we're left with a sum which Amazon will pay out. So this sum goes into the payout. But what we need to do as a seller, if we want to calculate the profit per sold unit, we need to subtract the cost of goods, right? So this is the white bar here, and then we're left with a profit, and this is the green one.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Mm-hmm. The FBA fees, we know Amazon often overcharges, charges fees they shouldn't charge. Charges higher fees than they should, depending on how many units the consumer is buying. The FBA fees that you're working into the calculation, are these the actual fees that Amazon is charging, or are these the anticipated fees?
No, these are the actual. Basically, we open every single transaction. We take only real numbers. The only like situation where we don't take the real numbers are orders that are not yet confirmed. So when an order comes in, it's in the status like pending or something, but we already show it, and we show a profit number already for today, basically. But and this is an estimation based on your history. Basically, we just look up an order which is exactly like this one in the history, and use these numbers as an estimation for today. But as soon as the order is shipped, we correct this number. So like starting from yesterday and backwards, the numbers are really what Amazon specifically charged you. So if they overcharged you, you see it in our software.
Okay, that's the real cost. And then the returns, it's not just the lost profit on that one unit, it's the lost on the whole business, on the account, because you're losing that piece of inventory if you're pulling it out. Mm-hmm. You're losing the shipping, you're losing the cost of goods. All that stuff has to be absorbed by the balance of your business, by the other sales.
Exactly. And I think the biggest mistake most of the sellers are making is they don't realize that a return kind of kills a sale that you made previously. So let me make an example. We sold
at least one sale. I mean, if you have a return product, and let's say you're making $2 a unit, and on a return you lose 10, that just cost you the profit on 5 units. It's not a one-on-one thing. Yeah, because you're losing more than just the profit. You're actually losing that unit many times. And we are a big advocate of not allowing Amazon to stick returns back in your inventory. It causes suspensions. Mm-hmm. We get those accounts back. We get those ASINs back day in and day out. Mm-hmm. But you don't want to have that issue. So don't. If your returns, do not stick them back in inventory. Have them sent home.
That's interesting. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I know this kind of problems as well. I didn't actually know that there's an option to do this. But that's definitely very interesting. Yes. So look, what happens if an item gets returned, right? So suppose somebody bought an item in May, and then 2 weeks later, it's already June, and they return it. So what a seller does is they look up how many did I sell in May, multiplies it by the profit per item, and kind of assumes this is the profit. But what really happens is there's a return in June, and this June return kind of influences your June result or your June profit negatively, right? Mm-hmm. And how to account for this? Because back in May we already calculated our profit, and maybe we even already took this money out of our business, right? So what happens here, and this is the right part of the slide. So first of all, when a customer initiates a return, Amazon immediately gives all the money back to the customer. They don't even wait until the item arrives at the warehouse.
Your money. They're giving your money back.
Exactly.
Okay? There's nothing coming out of Amazon's pocket on this stuff. They're giving your money back.
Yes, exactly. And they charge the seller basically 1-to-1. They charge the seller, but actually even more. So there's a little like pink a rectangle on the bottom of the slide, and it says refund commission, right? And when I was actively selling, I actually didn't know there was such a thing, but Amazon charges you for every returned item, and they call it refund commission. Basically, that's the money for taking your box, opening it, and looking what's in there, right? When the return comes in. That's called refund commission. So you gotta pay this money, and then the yellow one is the shipping chargeback. Here I need to say they're very fair because well, they refund it back to the seller when the returns comes in, right? Except for some categories, because like for example, I don't know about the US, but in Europe, for example, they introduced a second FBA fee for returned items, so the seller must pay the way back from customer's home to Amazon, right? Okay, and then there's this a blue one, a referral fee, and this is super fair from Amazon, so they give it back to the seller, right? So if we sold for $10, they charge us 15% referral fee. When a return comes in, they give it back to the seller. That's very fair of them. And then of course you've got the cost of goods, and here it becomes interesting. So in this picture, I assume that the item is sellable. So when you get the product back, then it's kind of a plus statement on your profit and loss table. So it's a positive number. But if the product is broken, then of course you need to write it off, right? And then you're left with a loss, and this is this red bar. And if the product is damaged, then it becomes even bigger. And I just copy pasted the profit bar just for you to see the how big this loss is. Of course, it depends on the numbers. This is just a made up example, but believe me, this is a huge profit killer. So if you guys are not accounting for your returns, then please do so. Either use a tool like ours. And we do it super precise here with really all the fees that were actually paid or reimbursed by Amazon, and also we automatically detect, by the way, whether the product is sellable or no, and refund this cost of goods or no on the profit and loss statement. But even if you don't want to use any tool, then just find a way, or take a look at your transaction report and count how many returns did you have. And take this slide and kind of exercise it manually for 1 to 3 returns, so that you get a feeling how much a return costs you. And unfortunately, there is no good visualization of the amount of returns in the Seller Central. So if you look up your sales numbers, there's no return number there. You can find it somewhere. You can download some reports and see them. And yeah, I would advise that you guys do it really and get a feeling, how much money you're really losing.
Yeah, you got it. You have to know your numbers, because if it's the 80-20 rule, at 80% of your problems going to come from 20% of your inventory, 80% of your profits, the 80-20 rule. So if you're getting return after return, it could be dragging down your profitability account wide. So you really need to know what each return is costing you, so you can decide whether to stay in that product or not. One return out of 10 would be awful. That'd be a 10% return rate, and your account's going down. So you need to protect your account from returns. You also need to protect your profitability. Hey, what's the next slide I should hit?
Let me talk about the storage fees. So this is maybe number 6. Okay, this is the one, right? So the second biggest profit killer are the storage fees. And the problem with them is also that the Seller Central isn't really showing them in a big way. So again, you can download reports, you can drill down into the numbers and find the storage fees that Amazon applied, or charged somewhere. But it's like not a number that you see when you go to the homepage of the Seller Central. So most of the guys tend to forget them, or tend to say optimistically, okay, storage fees, I'm going to pay something for storage, but it's not that much. And the reality is that these are huge numbers. And especially now, where Amazon changed their policy on the long-term storage fees. I don't know, have you heard about that?
Yes. Yep. Why don't you go through it? We have, and it's obscene. First of all, it's obscene that the storage fees triple, okay? But yeah, go ahead and talk about the changes in the long-term storage fees. I don't think a lot of sellers know that yet.
Yeah, exactly. So Amazon, first of all, as you said, they constantly increase the storage fees, right? Because they won't. Basically, I guess the reason is they have a problem with all this inventory. They don't want to have so much inventory because their warehouses are so full. So they increase the storage fees. But And I made a screenshot here, and there's also a link on the bottom, but you can basically just Google it. Just Google Amazon storage fees, and you will find Amazon pages with exactly this information. And the thing is, you pay for storage. In summer, it's less than in winter. So in winter, it's much more, just because of Christmas, but also because I guess they have to use some different warehouses that are isolated better. But the recent change is in the way how they calculate the long-term storage fees. So before August, it was like this. There were two days in the year. One was in February and one was in August, where they would assess your inventory and charge the long-term storage fees. So basically, on the I guess it was I forgot. Yeah, someday in February they would say, okay, what's the status of your inventory and how old is each item, and are there any items that are older than 181 days, and are there any items that are older than 1 year, basically 365 days. And if that's the case, they will charge you a huge amount of money per cubic foot of each of those items, right? But they only did it twice a year. So basically what sellers did was they waited until this payday, right? And shortly before the payday, you can download reports in the Seller Center which tell you how much inventory you have of which age, right? So they would pull back the inventory to their prep center, wait for a couple of days and send it back. So they reset the Amazon's counter on how old your inventory is. And I think that this is exactly the reason why they made this change, because this way you could, kind of work around these storage fees. You can, of course, you still pay for shipping the items from Amazon and back to Amazon, and you need to pay to your prep center. But still, it's way less than what Amazon wants you to pay for long-term storage. So basically, what they do now is they do it every month on the 15th, starting on the 15th of August. So it was like 1 week ago. So basically, if you want to do the pull off trick, then you need to do it every month, and it's unrealistic.
On the other hand, if your inventory is sitting around that long where you're going to get slaughtered, you may want to do an evaluation by using this tool or some other tool to see whether you even want to be in that product anymore. Get it out, move on to something else, cut your losses, have a fire sale, somehow get rid of it, because that means it's not moving. And that may be part of your business model where you're going to buy things that are sort of off season and save them for when they come back around. Like if you get a ton of cheap costumes in like November after Halloween passes and you're going to sit on it until, September, October roll around again. But if it's not part of your business model, if it's not part of your planning, this is really, listen, I think that's a really good kick in the ass. I know Amazon they're not doing it for you. They're not doing it to help sellers. They're doing it to clear their shelf space and put more money into their own pockets. But for a seller, this is something you need to know. How long is your stuff sitting on the shelf, and is it still profitable? And it's also at the same exact time, it is tying up your capital. So use the information. There's a lot of great stuff on Amazon, even though they're not really all that warm and fuzzy, to third-party sellers.
Yeah. And the next thing is just pay attention to your storage fees. So either use a tool like ours, or just download the transaction reports now and then. It's kind of hard to calculate the storage fees because it depends really on every single item and then on the number of days every single item was in the FBA warehouse. And when you're selling, your inventory is decreasing. So basically, there's no easy way just to say, okay, I've got 200 items on stock, and let's multiply it by some amount, because it's changing, right? And of course, you've got also this October to December, pricing, which is much higher. And but you can see the real numbers in the transaction report if you download it from the Seller Central, or you can see it in the tool, and just think about it and factor that in.
All right, I'm gonna jump around because we're getting kind of long here in the time here. I just saw a slide that I wanted you to get into. I found really fascinating. Give me a second.
Let me basically, I can talk a lot about this stuff, but let's wrap up. Maybe you go to our offer.
Okay.
So
Get there.
is it okay if I make an offer?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. What I'm going to go, just give me 1 second here. For those of you watching, with all these different screenshots, these are all the different ways that the AMZ control tool can help you monitor what your profits actually are, all the different ways it calculates it, all the different costs that come into it, all the different FBA fees that come into it. So you can really, really clamp down on where your profit's being made and what things you may want to cut back on or cut out. Okay, so yeah, do me a favor. First thing, go ahead, take the opportunity. How do our listeners contact you? I'm putting your website right up on the screen. And what is the super awesome special that our viewers get?
Exactly. So I would like to invite you guys to go to amzcontrol.com and take a look at the tool. There's a video there and there's a demo account there. If you click on demo, then you can basically try out the software without with our demo account without registering. You don't even need to provide your email address. You just see how it looks like. And if you decide to register, then you just go ahead and press the register button. And once you're done, post Amazon Seller's Lawyer into the chat box. There's a little chat box on the bottom, and we'll go ahead and extend your free trial to 2 months, so you can use it for free for 2 months. And
let me address something right then and there. Okay, there are a lot of people who provide information to sellers. Some are really great, and some are not. And a lot of people engage what you guys know is called affiliate marketing. We do not accept anything. We don't accept even 1 penny from anybody who comes on our webinars or anybody we refer people to. Absolutely nothing. Once in a while, there'll be something, and we'll donate to a charity, which I'm going to talk about. But we try and have people on who provide good services to sellers that we've come to believe in. And so if you could do this, you're getting this extra time. And I'm really happy, and I thank you for providing that to us. We are going to talk about the charity. We don't engage in affiliate marketing. We don't receive anything from anybody. If they offer it to us, we ask them to please donate it to our charity. Okay, is there anything else you want sellers to know right off the bat or right at the end of our conversation?
So if you guys have any questions or want to connect with me, then just use this chat box on amzcontrol.com, and I'm reading every single one of these messages, or at least I give my best. But you're gonna get a response from myself or from my team for sure. And yeah, I guess think about your numbers, know your numbers, and I am very convinced that Amazon is a huge business opportunity. Although it's changing and although it's becoming more difficult, but I think the market is just becoming more professional. So people that are serious about selling on Amazon, they find ways to succeed. It's just not that easy, like to launch a product anymore. But there are amazing ways to launch products, and to optimize the whole process to do your sourcing and to get reviews. And so if you're thinking about starting to sell, then just go ahead and do it. And if you are selling, then know your numbers, and good luck, and let's stay in touch. I would be happy to.
Know your numbers. Know your numbers. All right. To wrap it up, I want to talk about a couple of things here. First, there are some fantastic events coming up. Retail Global in Las Vegas, I think it's October 9 to 11, is going to have, I think it's like 5 or 6 different tracks for sellers where you can learn and get inspired and network. And it's going to be a fantastic event in Las Vegas, Retail Global. There is another event I want to talk to you about. Depending on where you are in the country, this is called Ecom Chicago. Okay. Ecom Chicago is also in October. I don't know why it's not showing here. There we go. Ecom Chicago is going to have some of the top vendors and speakers and thought leaders in our space here. It's October, I think, 18th to the 20th. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. You can find them on Facebook, and it's going to be an absolutely tremendous event. Also, anyone who watches these videos knows that we constantly promote a charity that was started by a friend of mine who lost his son to brain cancer. It's called the Ty Lewis Campbell Foundation. See if I could get it on here. Ty Lewis, Louis, Campbell Foundation. Ty was a little boy, a very aggressive form of brain cancer, and after 2 years of just awful, painful treatment, he lost his battle. He lost his life to cancer. And the reason I bring it up is that everybody who shops on Amazon can choose the Amazon Smile program, and you can choose any charity you want, and Amazon will donate a portion of the sale to that charity. It costs you nothing as a consumer. It doesn't cost the seller anything, and it's just a fantastic program. So if you are shopping on Amazon.com, please use the Amazon Smile program, and please pick the Ty Lewis Campbell Foundation. It's a tremendous organization. Anyway, Vladdy, thank you very much for joining us. If you have any questions, visit the website, AMZControl.com, and thank you very much for joining us for this Wednesday webinar. I hope to see you back here again soon. Thanks again.
Thank you, CJ. It was my pleasure. Thank you.